And we are live. Welcome to a very special broadcast with two great friends of mine and great friends of the show. Of course, it is Charlie and Miguel of the Crypto Mindset course. How are you guys doing?
Hey, good, man. Thanks for inviting us.
No, great to have you guys on here. I know that you, as usual, you guys have been working super hard. I've seen you on Fresh and Fit. I've just seen you on Charlie's channel, I think it was, or was it Miguel's? Maybe both. But you were talking to your to the tax dude about the tax issue with crypto, and I've seen you on a bunch of other shows as well. So you guys have really been hitting it hard recently with promotion and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the crypto space is starting to really warm up. So far. We managed to get a lot of our guys to buy the bottom on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the top assets in the space are, from the bottom, like we're basically at a 3x on both Ethereum and Bitcoin from the bottom. And a lot of these other assets we're up 3 to 5 times on our money on Solana and a lot of these other coins that we were buying and stuff. And now it's just heating up now, even with those amount of gains, which is incredible. If you try to get a 3x in the stock market, I mean, God bless you, good luck. But it's just warming up now in the space and stuff like that. So we're going into the Bitcoin halving pretty soon. I would say like April, May, right, Charlie? Around there, April, May.
Yeah, around mid-April. Yep.
Mid-April, yeah. And it's typically after a couple months after the halving that the prices just go bananas. So we're kind of in this like the bullets getting locked in, getting put into the chamber now. Like we're about to take off.
Yeah, man. No, it's exciting times. And of course, last September, right, crypto was at an all-time low, wasn't it? I mean, Bitcoin was at an all-time low. You were on a show with me, you were on Fresh and Fit and everything like that. And it was really, trying to explain to people, look, this is the time you guys really need to get into the market. You really need to buy because, things are going to change coming into next year. And of course, well, what are we seeing now? Because obviously, like you said, because I saw, as I said, a couple of your Fresh and Fit appearances, and I mean, you were talking about just the massive importance of the 4-year cycle, and just really people needing to understand that 4-year cycle and how that really affects the market. And it seemed like you were suggesting some commentators don't even really seem to get that. They look at sentiment being bad, they're like, "Oh, right, the market's fucked, it's all gone to shit," but they don't understand the power that this 4-year cycle has.
Yeah, they and that's part of a lack of understanding of fundamentals with the Bitcoin halving. So what they'll do is they'll look at Bitcoin, they'll be like, "Oh, it's just code, it's zeros and ones, it's fake internet money, whatever." I guess we just look at the chart and see what are people buying it or not, and they thought the same thing about the S&P. I think people are surprised that the S&P is back at all-time highs this quickly. With all the recession fears and macroeconomic fears that we had last year. So a lot of people try to put a narrative in there and say why this time is different. But then if you look at the 4-year cycle, it hits to a freaking T every single time. So the fact that we got the all-time lows for Bitcoin, or not the most recent lows for Bitcoin in the 4-year cycle at 15,500 at the end of 22, that was exactly 3 years and 11 months after the low that we had at the end of 2018. So the next one that we get should be 4 years later, which is basically end of 2026. So which means the top of the market should be a year before that. And so between March to November of 2025, that's where we can see Bitcoin, brand new all-time high. And hitting above 100K for the first time ever. And at the same time, you're going to have Wall Street basically selling Bitcoin to the masses because they have the ETFs now. So it's kind of crazy. The momentum that we're going to have over the next year and a half in crypto is going to be insane.
Yeah. So you've got this Bitcoin ETF, haven't you? That finally now has come to fruition. And that is really a game changer in terms of sort of the mass adoption, right? I think you were saying something along those lines, because it's sort of like once there's that kind of official rubber stamp, it becomes less of this idea of like, oh, crypto is just this flaky online faddy thing that's going to just crumble and go to shit. Now people are really starting to take it seriously. So there's probably a window of opportunity, right, to get in before it becomes either super expensive or much more regulated than it is now.
100%.
And in
Miguel, I think
terms,
you're muted. Miguel, I think you're muted.
Oh, well, I muted myself somehow. So, technical issues, but no. So, I mean, right now we're in the part of the market where we are like, this is the thing. There's a lot of uninformed people or people in the past have gotten wrecked, and they've mostly gotten wrecked at the top, right? So right now we're in the part of the market where we're actually investing. We're buying good assets. There's good narratives to these coins, and there's kind of like, and it's not just hopes and dreams. This has happened multiple cycles in a row. There's these narratives, these L1s. There's we have on-chain data. We have fun with the fundamentals of these coins. We've got we are able to look at the charts, and we see like all this new money coming to the space. So you can make sort of an educated guess and actually invest, where later in the cycle, we're talking deep into 25, we're speculating. It's totally, we're playing a little more of a game of hot potato, but you can make a lot of money in that. As we go deeper into 25 or deeper into 24, the money starts coming in faster and faster and faster, and then it's sort of like a game of musical chairs. At the end of it, it's really fun. It's the best fun.
Yeah.
It's making we would tell people we told this in the courses and stuff. I mean, there was a point in time where you were like $40,000 a day in income. It was like it happens. Like it happens a lot. It's crazy, but that actually does happen in that space and stuff like plus or even more. Like I know guys are making like $250,000 a day in yield, not even like selling, just yield off of their assets. And that happens during the most crazy part of the market. But the thing is, you have to set yourself up to be a position, because right now you can buy the best assets that everyone's going to want at a huge discount. Like right now, we're pre-halving. It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the coins that you guys have been talking about recently, right? Maybe you could give us a little bit of intel on some of these, because obviously you've got the old favorites, obviously Bitcoin itself, but Ethereum, I think you guys were saying is likely to really pump. I think you mentioned between 8 and 12K, potentially getting up to that. I wasn't quite sure of the time frame on that, but Ethereum looks like it's going to really pump. You've also mentioned like Phantom, Solana, and Pulse Chain as well. So what is it? Firstly, are those ones that you would definitely advise people to have a look at right now? And secondly, what is it specifically about those coins that make them very attractive, would you say?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Charlie.
We like all of them. In terms of time frame, like you said, so it'll be that March to November period in 2025 where we expect the peaks on those. And the peaks at everything. The one thing you'll notice at the end of the bull market often happens is the altcoins will continue pumping an extra, usually about 2 to 4, maybe 5 weeks longer than Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's also kind of a sign of the top. But so you'll have plenty of time. Like right now, you'll have plenty of time to get out at that point, but time to get in is less so, because we're coming up to that halving. So everything really starts ramping up once we get towards about summer of this year. That's where things get really crazy. So, getting in, understanding crypto, understanding what you're playing with it is really important. But speaking to, me and Miguel will probably mention a few different coins here, but speaking to some of those coins, if you're looking at the market, I named my channel Cultivate Crypto because basically we're trying to get more Bitcoin and Ethereum. The dollars will come from that, right? Because Bitcoin and Ethereum have, if you look at the chart, have outpaced the dollar insanely since their inception. Yes, they have big drawdowns, obviously, and those are times where you want to take profit before that. But generally speaking, they're assets that outpace the dollar. So the question is, how much will the other coins outpace Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then which ones won't? So the ones that you mentioned there, we think will outpace Bitcoin and Ethereum. And if you look at Ethereum, now it's at like 2,000 some change. So if it gets to that 12K mark, that's about a 6X or a little bit less, maybe a 5X, right? Then Bitcoin, you have it at $40,000. It might get up to anywhere between $120,000 to $160,000. So that's about a 3 or 4X, and over the next year and a half. So you want to look, if you're going down the risk curve, to other coins to get more gains during the bull market, which is good to do. you want to make sure that A, it's a quality project and then B, that it can outpace Bitcoin and Ethereum. So one of the ones that you mentioned there, in particular, Solana, it's kind of like, me and Miguel have been saying, it's kind of like where Ethereum was at in its early days. It's still around $100. And so if it gets up to 1,000, we wouldn't be surprised or more. So that's one right there as an example that we think will outpace Bitcoin and Ethereum. And largely that's because they have so much investment from venture capitalists, VCs, who are in the traditional space as well.
Right.
There's a podcast called the All In podcast, and at the top of like a month before the top of the market, they were just laughing on their YouTube channel saying how much money they made on Solana because they got into it before everybody else could.
You gotta imagine, like 40-year-old men. These guys have made they're very wealthy guys, 40-year-old men and stuff like that, giggling like little girls. little girls.
These guys have bank money too.
They have stupid money, but they also were kind of being pretty insensitive to, pretty like they were just like, how we're about to dump on everyone's heads and stuff, and just laughing about it basically. And but the one reason why, like, because this is a really important. He's poor, but like, but yeah, for sure. But this is the reason why, like, it was not my like we're coin agnostic. We teach people to, even if you don't like the coin, we have to, if there's money to be made, there's money to be made, right?
Yeah.
So we're open to new ideas and everything like that. And Solana was not a coin that we liked at all because it was going down all the time. It was very manipulated. It used to be controlled very heavily by Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX, but I knew it was fundamentally. Here's one thing about it that just it's not going to change it. It's the only U.S. blockchain,
right?
It's the only one,
Really?
and yes, yeah. Almost all of them are European, Asian, or of that kind of cohort. And pretty much all the L1s that could have launched here in the States, they fled the States and launched somewhere else, or launched in Dubai or something like that. It's just really sad. It's just because the United States is just being really stupid with the laws, mostly because of the SEC and the Gary Gensler and stuff. I do believe he's going to be kicked out of office pretty soon. So that's some good news there. But I truly believe we probably would have had the Bitcoin ETF early last year, or maybe middle of last year. Yeah, we would have had the ETF way before. We'd be talking about the Ethereum ETF now coming out, not the Bitcoin ETF, right? And actually, that could have been. That's actually almost a thought experiment. Like, if the SEC was more accommodative, we may have had the Bitcoin ETF in 21, actually, and that could have actually even been a catalyst to get us above 100K for the first time.
Do you think is the ETF? Would you say it's that significant? Is this a real milestone in terms of the history of this?
Absolutely, it is. It's probably the most actual, realistic, most massive news we've had in crypto, and I can't even remember when. Since Coinbase IPOing maybe, or Coinbase launching, it's that pivotal because we're having ETF announcements every day, like brand new, even if they're small. Like every time there's an ETF that launches, it's buying pressure. It's buying pressure. It's buying pressure. It's more and more people buying. It just becomes basically the only big player that's not going to have one is Vanguard, and they're going to be the last. They're literally losing market share because of this. Because a lot of people have their own self-directed 401ks and stuff like that, and IRAs, and Vanguard, what's called BlackRock, VanEck, what's called Fidelity is another huge one and stuff. These are kind of some the Charles Schwab just announced yesterday that they're in the ETF game now. So we have basically everyone but Vanguard. Don't know.
It's a fucker. I use Vanguard actually, but I presumably, I can obviously, I can go into BlackRock, but presumably Vanguard will probably follow suit at some point, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, and the longer that they take to follow suit, the more likely that's going to be probably lining up with a top in the market. I think we often get guys like Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan. For the whole cycle, they'll say Bitcoin's shit, Bitcoin shit, Bitcoin shit. And then by the time we get to the top, they're like, well, it's still shit, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Or like they kind of give in at some level. And when that happens, that tends to line up pretty well with like a market close to a market peak.
Well, just from a consumer point of view, though, if you're like, I've got this there's this ETF, you know, I'll stick some money in there. I mean, are you likely to make much gains from that specifically, or is that going to be more of a steady thing, like putting into the S&P 500? But I mean, obviously, the main effect that you guys are talking about is the effect on the market itself, isn't it? But just from the point of view of buying into that ETF, would that be a thing worth doing, or what's your?
Yeah, if it benefits you in like your 401k or your IRA, so. And in Europe, actually, they've had ETFs for crypto, Bitcoin specifically, a lot longer than the United States. So, yeah, it's a tax advantage thing in a lot of places, and so and it does track Bitcoin's price for the most part. So you'll be able to make good money on that. The other thing in the traditional market that you can make good money on that's related to crypto actually is crypto tech stocks, or sorry, not crypto mining stocks.
Right.
So like there's a company called Marathon Digital. I think BlackRock owns like 5% of that company. They're on the board of directors or something like that. And that right there, I think like regularly it does like 300% gain moves and stuff like that. So you can make good money off of those things and, you know, put them in a more traditional type of vehicle.
Yeah. Nice. There's some questions about Phantom here, actually. So Phantom, of the ones that we talked about, Phantom is the least expensive at the moment. What's the deal with Phantom then? Because he's saying is it in the early stages too, like Solana, and he says is it better than Solana? I mean, what's the use case with Phantom and Phantom specifically, and why is that a good one to have a look at?
You're muted again.
Why do I don't know what's going on with my computer. It keeps auto muting me for some reason. But yeah, Phantom is very very fast. Basically what's happening is Phantom is the first ever EVM. A layer one or a layer one is basically a copy of Ethereum or an Ethereum sort of like thing. So when you think of it, when you hear an L1, right? An L1 is basically they're trying to be their own Ethereum.
Right. Okay.
It can be a different version, different code, different blockchain, but they're just basically trying to do that. They're just trying to be their own thing, basically. Infrastructure, yeah. They're trying to be their own silo. So Phantom was the first ever EVM. They kind of branched off and stuff. They launched in the bear market. So what kind of happened with it was they had an ICO. It came out in the market. The market crashed really badly. Basically, all the VCs sold out. It got picked up by a brand new team. And Andre Congrier, which is I'd probably call him top 3 developers in crypto, period. As of right now, like he's literally top 3. He's created a lot of big projects, and you know, is a guy that was, you know, that helped, you know, was in the synthetics background, was in Curve Convex, which is basically how we have our stable coins not go to zero. and deep liquid. So this is why, like, some of the stuff that he's created and helped along with and stuff is the reason why we're able to, like, you could sell $1 million of crypto into a stable coin, and the stable coin won't go to like $1.50 or anything. Like, it stays at $1. You know, it's that sort of thing. It stays stable or more or less stable. It's not always perfect, but it's pretty good. He's also created quite a lot of things like, Wi-Fi and stuff, like Yearn Finance and stuff like that. So he's created a lot of like these sort of like primitives and these ways to yield farm. He's one of the guys who kind of pioneered and figured out yield farming. And he pretty much, his home base is Phantom. So Phantom is coming out with a very big upgrade called Sonic, right? Which is the NFE. So imagine like Ethereum. Ethereum has something called EVM, which is called the Ethereum Virtual Machine, and that's basically your heart. Your EVM basically allows you to basically process smart contracts and transactions, right? And the reason why this Sonic upgrade that's happening on Phantom is so gigantic is because this is the first ever real upgrade to EVM in basically ever. So this is going to significantly increase its throughput. Like it's somewhere between 9 to 11x faster. So that means you can get more smart contracts through it and more transactions. Most of these blockchains aren't having a transaction issue; they're having a smart chain issue. So what a smart chain is basically it's not a transaction like I buy something or I send something. It's not that. It's basically I'm having a transaction where I'm telling it to go from sell this coin, then borrow on this, move it over here, and then put it on this wallet when it's done.
Right. Okay.
So it's like it's basically a transaction that's like 5 transactions or plus. And so it's basically a script. So it's like when they say contracts, it's basically a script of 5+ transactions or more.
Okay. Yeah.
And what it's doing is it's an upgrade to that. So that's really what's slowing down Ethereum, and it's slowing down because almost 90% of all L1s are copies of Ethereum.
So does this lead into somebody asked a question back here about Ethereum, and he said, why? I'll try and find it, but it was something basically like, why has Ethereum been so anemic? I've had it for ages, but I haven't seen much growth. So is this to do with that?
This happens that's partially part of it, but the whole the 4-year cycle starts with Bitcoin and then eventually shifts to the money then shifts to Ethereum. So you kind of want to look at crypto 4-year cycles in seasons. The money will flow from one asset to another, and sometimes it when it flows to altcoins, because they have lower market cap than Ethereum, they tend to move more, and so it takes a lot more money to start leaving Bitcoin to go into Ethereum to start getting Ethereum gains, that are much more than Bitcoin. So usually in the cycle, that starts happening post halving. So that would start happening from April, May, June period is where you start seeing Ethereum really punch up and start challenging Bitcoin. But you're not going to see until right after Bitcoin hits its all-time high, you will usually see Ethereum kind of struggling against Bitcoin until that time. So there's some people who want to hold Bitcoin and then dollar cost average out of Bitcoin into Ethereum to try to get the maximum gains. You can do that if you're paying a lot of close attention. Otherwise, you just buy, hold Ethereum. It will outpace Bitcoin over the entirety of the cycle, but on each given day, it might not. So we had the very first crypto mindset course was in September of 2020, and we were recommending Ethereum. And I think Bitcoin at the beginning of the course was like $10,000, and then it had gotten to about $27,000 by the end of the year. So it did about a 3x. Ethereum had gone from like maybe $300 to $600 over that same period of time. And people were like, man, this Ethereum thing, it's just, it's not giving me enough gains. And then right after people started making those complaints, boom, Ethereum started kicking off and really going well. So, and I think he mentioned something about Phantom earlier as well. It's like, why is Phantom not really doing anything yet? That doesn't have enough TVL yet, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Same thing there is Phantom. The money hasn't come to that ecosystem yet. Money went to Solana first because they were the ones who basically built the narrative for the altcoin layer ones. And then that money will then trickle into the others over time in different parts of the cycle.
And that's a really important thing Charlie said right there, is because it's so VC backed, they kind of have this pool of capital to pump up the coin, and it kind of started with Solana. And it's really what popped off the L1 cycle was Solana going. Yeah, you have AVAX. I mean, AVAX is going to do really well. Like, trust me, like we're going to talk about AVAX and stuff and all these other coins, but like Solana kicked it off because it's got this big backing, and people have made a lot of money on Solana. But here's kind of the narrative that's going on. So one thing also that was holding Ethereum back was the Bitcoin ETF. The Bitcoin ETF was basically bringing all the hype. So everyone who was like could hear it was like, so all the kind of normie money and sort of TradFi money was just thinking about Bitcoin only. So you had much more buying pressure as well on Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Now what's happening is as soon as the Bitcoin ETF passed, we saw a bit of a spike. And more interest in Ethereum, because guess what? The next ETF is going to be an Ethereum ETF.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So this is really going to help. So now we have a little extra, but it's nothing like crazy, but it's just a little more of a push. And this is what happens with cryptos. As soon as the supply starts kind of going off and getting siloed away, the price really starts ramping up. First slowly and then very rapidly. And one time.
Yeah. So, I mean, just obviously, one of the key reasons you're here is because the Crypto Mindset course is open now. Right. Guys can join. They've got until, I think you said, what was the final date that guys can join if they go through the link that we've got in the chat?
In 5 days. So if I were to look exactly on the calendar here, just make sure I got the right date. That would be Saturday at midnight Pacific Standard Time.
Nice. Okay. So
I think that's the 3rd.
Yeah. No, great stuff. So you've got 5 days left to join the course. And the reason why it's so important to join the course, I mean, firstly, these guys have been doing this since, is this the 11th one that you've done now or something? You've done quite a few, haven't you?
11 or 12.
Yeah, 11th or 12th opening of this course. You know, a bunch of guys have become millionaires through working with you. Guys have just learned the intricacies of crypto. You're the longest standing crypto course that's out there. You break everything down. You're sort of agnostic as far as coins are concerned. You know, you're going to give your best recommendations, but you have a very balanced view of this. You know, you're here to really help guys to go from hero to zero as far as crypto is concerned. And even if guys are intermediate or advanced, they're going to learn more stuff from you and the insights that you're giving throughout the course. But the point is, now is such an important time to get into this because we are on the cusp of when this is going to go crazy, aren't we? And I suppose there's that kind of questioning of like, well, is it even too late? But from what I've been hearing, I think at the moment there's still an opportunity to get in, and it's some fairly decent prices. I think you guys were saying sort of February until maybe the end of May to sort of invest, and then it's going to start to probably ramp up a little bit, and your profit's going to be less. Is that a fair summation in terms of sort of why is now such an important time for guys to get into this?
Yeah, because I mean, usually if you try to get in when everything is pumping, you miss a lot and you make rash decisions, and you know it's harder to really absorb the information when the market's a little slow, a little quiet. Things are just kind of gaining bit by bit. Then that's where you really want to study, hone down your skills, because then you'd be prepared, right, for that run up and to take profits on the run up, to make sure that you have already got your coins before the run up, to make sure that the coins you do have are quality coins. And so if you're running into the market when everybody else is and the prices are going bananas, you're bound to make some really simple mistakes that you could have avoided. And you know, the cost of the course being, you know, $1,000, if you're putting in, you know, like $1,000 or $10,000 into the crypto market, basically over the next 2 years, because you're trying to add another zero to that, then that impact of not knowing some of this information, basically, it's kind of like insurance, right?
Yeah.
It will save your ass from either losing money, or it will help you, or it will help you to make more money than you would have otherwise. So that right there is definitely one of the value propositions.
We have so many like previous students tell me that they take every single course because it's like their insurance policy not to fuck up. Right?
Yeah,
to pay attention, because it gets to a point too, because we have tons of students that their portfolios are in hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, and $4,000 or $3,000 a year is nothing in order to make sure that they fucking stick the landing and make those millions or make those hundreds of thousands. Like I pay if I could pay a service $4,000 and to make sure that I fucking stick this damn landing, I would pay it in a heartbeat, because it's basically the cost of doing business. You know,
yeah.
This is the way like a lot of people are looking at it, and this is why we've had so much success and why we've lasted the longest, and why our competition is. I mean, there is no competition. I mean, there is no second best. You know, there's us, there's everybody else, right? But I mean, while everybody was trying to just do a giant cash grab at the top of the market, you know, just selling fucking pre-recorded courses, one live webinar, and not even showing up, and just having fake AI guys, or they had Indian dudes in chats and stuff, just pretending to be them. It was us live every webinar, trying to take care of our guys, us live in chat, us doing voice calls. We never abandoned our guys. When the market got rough, we never left. We stayed with our guys. We bought the bottom with them and stuff like that. And there's video proof of us. We streamed the entire bear market. We streamed on the lows. We streamed on the Solana lows, on the Pulse chain lows, on the Hex lows, on the Phantom lows, on the AVAC. I can keep going, but like on everything that you would want to buy, we were streaming, and we were buying, and our guys DCA'd. Didn't matter if all you could buy was $20 or $100,000. Everyone got in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but to be clear, right now there's still. And in fact, I think that you've been saying you're likely to anticipate a bit of a dip, maybe into February on Bitcoin. So actually, it's not a bad time still to be getting in.
Yeah, it's a perfect time. Like you said before, we had the courses come out at the previous lows. We had the only 2 courses we've ever bundled together in terms of quarters was the end of Q4 2022 and beginning of Q1 2023. That was the 4-year cycle low. Then we had another course that we did Q3 and 4 together of last year in 2023. And that one came out in September. So that was just before the last run up. And so we always try to situate where we're doing the course in a way so that while you're studying, right, you have time to kind of assess the market and see it. And then once we get towards the finishing part of the webinars, then boom, the opportunity to take advantage of the information you just absorbed, right? Then you can start acting on it and doing things properly. So that gives you, we like to put the course at a point in the market where there's always an opportunity for guys in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And something else that you mentioned before, Miguel, is I think May the 1st, a significant date in terms of interest rates. So what's the score with that? How's that going to affect it?
So we have an FOMC meeting that happens. It's going to be they usually meet for 2 days, one day to kind of more or less figure out what they're going to do, and then on the next day they release it to the public. So April 31st is the first day of the FOMC meeting, and then May 1st is when they will go live on TV. You have Jerome Powell go on, CNBC and all these other channels, and Bloomberg and everything like that, and tell them, hey, we're going to do this with interest rates, or this is like the economic forecast that we see for the next 3 to 4 months. My speculation is this is when they're going to start lowering interest rates. Jerome Powell and the FOMC have been talking about lowering interest rates for a while now, but it's just not time. But they have basically forecasted that they want to lower rates down to 2.9%. So currently we're at 5.5%. So that would be about a 45% reduction in rates, which is really substantial. That's a 45% reduction in interest payments across the world. Whatever the Fed does, the world reacts. If the Fed today increased the interest rates to 10%, everyone else would be at 11 or 12 around. Yeah. And that's not including the VIG, the bank would charge you, or the credit cards, or anybody. So right now, I believe real estate's going to actually start going up quite substantially, probably in the later half of 25. There's a lot of baby boomers and stuff that basically can't move or don't want to sell their house, because if they sell the house, they'll buy another house and they'll have a very large payment. You could have a house that's not paid for, you have equity in, you sell it, you move to a different state, and you want to get a house that's comparable to what you had or even better. And then what ends up happening is that payment is crazier than the payment from a house that you bought in the early 2000s or in 2009 or 10 or 11 or even just recently in 21. So a lot of people are kind of stuck in their houses. So when interest rates drop down to the 2% mark, that means 30-year mortgages will be in the mid to high 3s. For a lot of people. And then that's actually the actual average on interest rates is between 2 to 3% historically throughout like the last couple hundred. I would say the last couple 100 years, it's usually around that, except for like crazy periods of time, of course, like the 70s when we went up to like 27% or higher because of the the oil crisis.
Yeah. So basically, the knock-on effects of that is the economy starts to improve, and then that has a knock-on effect in terms of the crypto marketplace.
So right now, crypto is starting to shoot off. Stocks are just like raging like this, and what's kind of slowing the economy down is real estate.
Right. Yeah.
It's really our biggest hiccup in the economy right now. And real estate is 100% tied to Main Street. It is, even though it's supposedly only like 27% of the economy, I truly believe it's actually a lot larger in the economy. I would probably say it's like in the 30s, really, because from real estate sales to plumbers to paints, I mean, everything you can imagine, from building a house, taxes for cities. I mean, just if a city were to build 1,000 homes over 10 years, just the amount of payment, extra money that would come into the economy, and on top of that, all the taxes the city would generate for itself as well, and all the jobs, the streets, the plants being sold. I mean, just the world doesn't. I mean, America doesn't run on Dunkin'; it runs on real estate.
Yeah, man. Well, and I mean, on that note, Damien says, "Is real estate going to have another crash like 2008?"
Not yet. It's because a lot of people. This is the thing is. We had 2008. That was a housing crisis. Because it was a housing crisis, we put things in place for that not to happen. And it did. The reason people are like, housing is going to crash, all this stuff's going to happen, it's because people can only remember the last bad moment, and that was 2008. This pump, this huge increase in house prices was just not house price. I mean, from 2009, the bottom of the market, 2011, stocks, crypto, real estate, everything went like this up. It was not just a real estate pump. It was an everything pump. Everything went bananas. So while the prices went down, like right now, rents are not going up anymore. You may even have like little price cuts here and there, but you have a whole generation of like millennials that have still lived with their parents and they've been wanting to get homes for a long time. So there is a lot of demand for housing. It's just they weren't able to do it basically. And now millennials are trying to get older and older. I mean, I'm like a younger millennial, but I'm in my early 30s, and there's a lot of millennials in their 40s I think the youngest millennial right now is like might be 27 right now, 27. And you're having the Zoomers coming up too, and they need houses as well. So there's a lot of need for housing.
Yeah. So I mean, but what do you see happening with that? Because you were saying if it's not going to crash, is it continue unless cities start building a shit ton more housing, which doesn't seem to. I mean, it's not really happening in the UK anyway. I mean, is that
right?
Is the problem just going to become worse?
So the United, I gotta put the U.S. market different from other markets. So the U.S. market. So here's kind of the mess up thing is that most other countries didn't have enough millennials.
Right.
So the baby boomer generation is the largest generation, but in Europe and on a large, they had 50% less millennials to boomers in terms of population. So the baby boomers in Europe had way less kids than they did here in the States. Basically the millennial generation is about like I think 5% bigger than the boomers. So we're not big. We should be 20%, 30% larger. We're more of a replacement generation, but basically it's still a very large population basically.
Yeah, that's interesting because I mean this guy is again saying people my age are not buying property, even moving out of their parents. I'm 25. A lot of people in today's
crypto's the way, baby.
So the bottom line of all of this is you want to put your money into an investment asset, right? And crypto is easier to get into. You don't have to have that massive outlay at the beginning, etc., etc. And you can, the likelihood is you're gonna make bigger profits because although, I suppose it depends where you are. I mean, if you're in Miami or you're in some kind of place where it's guaranteed to go up significantly, then you're going to make some big money with property. But I mean, I don't know, man. In England, at least, it feels like it's flatlining a little bit, to be honest, because we did see like huge fucking profits on property in the last sort of 10, 15 years. I think it's flatlining out a little bit simply because
the Chinese.
Exactly, because they bought everything. But also because I think like at some point it just becomes unaffordable. And if people's wages, if people's salaries, like a property in London now costs like, I don't know, 5 times the average salary or whatever. Like how is it sustainable for it to keep going up? It's just because people can't afford it now, let alone that must create a cap on it at some point, right?
Yeah, and a lot of that, in terms of like inflation just like rearing its ugly head the last few years across the world, that itself has just like, if you look at, I think it was like just before the pandemic in 2020 and 2019, if you look at house prices and everything, it's like it just became unaffordable in the last few years compared to what its historic average had been. And so people are starting to finally feel like, okay, now, goods and services, assets, everything is getting more and more expensive. And at the same time, though, wages aren't increasing and wages aren't really matching that because it's kind of like people's bias on like, oh, when I grew up, I got paid, $7 an hour. Yeah, that was a really good job. These kids, they can't work for $20 an hour. They're lazy as hell. It's like, no, they're just in a worse predicament in their current situation. So the way crypto really fits into that is it's a savings account that if you look at the cycles and how they run every 4 years, it's one of the best ways to outpace inflation, to take some savings that you do have, compound that over time into such a large extent that by outpacing that inflation, by outpacing that kind of running away of, what do you call it? Like how much money it costs to live, right? How much money it costs to be a human being. crypto is the best way to basically still have the American dream, which is, still be able to have a lot of success. A lot of people, they're starting, a lot of the Gen Zers are giving up on the fact that they're going to be able to own things, or giving up on the fact that they're going to be able to actually have sovereignty and control over their life. So, crypto is one way to take that freedom back. But it is a tool, right? It's something that can also burn you. So like a flame or something, like a stove or whatever. If you don't use it the right way, you can also get burnt. So just that's why we do the course, to make sure that we get you guys in. And usually when people take the course, they circumvent about 2 to 5 years of self-study. So if they were to go out there on their own and go and like watch a bunch of YouTube and all that stuff, we'd give our YouTube for free on a daily basis. They can come over to Cultivate Crypto or Dollar Cost Crypto on YouTube, watch all our free information. I think Flynn in the chat had also said that he made money just by watching our channels. And so we recommend people to really start stacking that knowledge, stack that savings. And then the cool thing about that is once you circumvent that 3 to 5 years of self-study, you avoid you make less mistakes in the early stage, which makes you make more money in the later stages. And then as you build the base to your citadel, or build the base to your foundation of your generational wealth or your self-sovereignty, then you can start making, better financial decisions. And also, money isn't everything, but it does equate to a lot of freedom as well. So you can do a lot more things when you have more money.
And there's that whole thing too, that money doesn't buy happiness. Well, I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini than in a Honda.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about, because like there's one guy that's being a little negative, but not too bad. I don't think he's a bad guy or anything, like Raider Nation or Raider Reborn and stuff. It's just look. I was reading some of the comments, and here's the thing: as a man, you got to take risk. Yeah. Everything's a risk. If I move here, what happens? What happens if I get fired for the job? What if I buy a house in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is desert, and the city dies? You have to take risk. Well, like you can go out the door and die. You can get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Tomorrow isn't promised, but we have to try. We have to try. And this whole thing, this you're not going to get anywhere in life not trying, not risking. Like, I'm like, no, I can't start a business, because if I start a business, what if it fails? Well, you are going to fail with the mentality like that. You cannot do that. And to tell you the truth, it's the most water sustainable city in the entire planet. If you didn't know that, and so yeah. I mean, right. It's in the desert and stuff, but I mean, it's kind of crazy. We spend way less water than Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is really in the desert, and we're kind of in the desert. They're in a desert, and they spend way more water than us. So, but still, like people said, like Miami's unsustainable and stuff, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. And there's the same sort of thing, like guys who say, like, I'll never buy Apple. Everyone, it's so stupid. Owning Apple is so dumb, and it just has a 25-30 year bull run. I'll never buy Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's too risky, and it's on a 14, 15 year bull run. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Ethereum's stupid. I'll never buy that. And how long has it been in our bull run? It was I remember a time when I remember seeing Ethereum for 50 cents. It's $2,300 today.
It's insane, isn't it? It's insane. But like you said, I mean, some of these things, the mainstreaming of some of this stuff, like particularly with the ETF and so on, and the involvement of large companies investing significantly into cryptocurrency just underpins the fact that this is here to stay, and this is an ongoing thing. And if anything, it's heading more mainstream than ever before, right? Which I guess is good and bad, perhaps, because then you've got more. I mean, I heard you guys talking about it's XRP, and then the fact that the Fed are looking to have they taken ownership of it, or they're looking to take ownership of it, and then is there problems with that, because then when they get their hands on it, is there greater control and all that kind of thing? So is there almost there's some advantage with when you're in a kind of more of a Wild West situation, isn't there, than when it becomes more sort of control and there's more eyeballs on it?
Well, a lot of it is open source software, and what the governments are going to do with it is they're actually going to utilize it as a tool, right? And they might not adopt XRP directly. I know banks between Japan, South Korea, and Southeast Asia are actually through a company called SBI Japan. They are actually adopting Ripple itself, but what you're going to see is a lot of central bank digital currencies, if they do end up coming out with those, which they're attempting to do. I think people should be fighting back against those. But what they're going to do is they're going to adopt technology like Ethereum and Ripple, and then kind of make some Frankenstein of their own as well. So they're gonna, it won't be stealing the technology, but it'll be adopting the technology to their use case. So I have a theory that we're kind of like in the 1994 moment here in 2024 for crypto, where everybody, is like, well, we already have fax machines. We already have postal mail. We have telephones. Why do I need email? What's this @ symbol? Like, this whole thing is like kind of weird. And then 4 years later in 1998, every person, like the housewife, the desperate housewives next door, or whatever, they have 40, different email addresses to go and do spam on whatever, they like, for their flower garden or whatever. So same thing with crypto. In about 5 years or so, by the end of this decade, basically you're going to see that kind of mass adoption moment. And then, all of a sudden everybody knows how to use it. They're going to call it digital assets because they don't want to use the word that's been already tainted by the media, but they're still using crypto.
I called the stream, high value men have need crypto mindset in 2024. And I mean, obviously, we know the likes of, Myron and Fresh, we know Justin Waller, and to name but a few, because obviously there's a whole bunch of dudes that will be regarded as high value, whether they're famous or not, who are in the crypto space. It's right now, there's still the possibility of making some life-changing amounts of money with this stuff. Do you foresee that at some point becoming more difficult, let's say, because of the mainstreaming of this?
It's starting to now, actually, because what happens with an emerging market is it gets more complex.
Right.
So if you looked at, tech stocks and the internet companies back in the 90s, people were speculating. They didn't really know, what makes a good website and all that stuff. But then after a while, the industry solidifies. Yeah, it has some dips, it has some rough times. But then when you get the Amazons, the Facebooks, the big apps and everything, and it goes mainstream, then it just becomes more complex. So what we see with crypto is first you had Bitcoin, then you had Ethereum, then you had these layer ones, which are copies of Ethereum, like Miguel was explaining earlier. And then you're going to have layer twos. Then you're going to have applications on all these. So it's just you're going to get a full tech stack eventually. So you'll have to go down the risk curve to the lower cap coins or the newer coins in order to see the types of gains that we've seen so far in crypto. It's like with Bitcoin, it becomes more stable over time. The gains become less. So then you have to go to the next and the next and the next as the industry solidifies.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you guys have always preached about, having a sort of balanced portfolio, right? So I guess it depends on everyone's risk tolerance, but probably this the most sensible thing to do, arguably, would be to sort of have a foundation in the more stable coins, and then go a bit degenerate, but you're investing a lot less of your money in some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, because if you bought, let's say, 50% of your portfolio in Ethereum and Bitcoin, you're going to win because they do their cycles. They've been around a long time. Then you buy a flyer, something that you've researched that's newer for the other 50% of the portfolio, just as an example. Don't have to go that hard. But if you did, then the gains from that half of the portfolio will if it's successful, right? Like you think it will outmatch the Bitcoin Ethereum side by so much that you're just like, wow. And then you can bank that into either cash, Bitcoin, or Ethereum later. But if the opposite happens and that thing just doesn't do anything, well, at least you still got your guarantees.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is and I heard Myron saying actually on one of the Fresh and Fits, sometimes you guys get accused of, you're shilling for this coin and blah, blah, blah. But a lot of it is people are just asking you about a particular coin and then you give your opinion on that coin. But I think you're pretty, you guys are very agnostic when it comes to coins, aren't you? I mean, you take a very balanced view of it's not like you're sort of like, you're not those kind of content creators who are shilling a particular coin or anything like that. It's a very, very sort of rational, fact-based, case-based sort of analysis of each coin.
Right. We've had coins we've made a lot of money on that we like because of that, but we're willing to, look at the reality of the situation, be like, okay, here's what's good about it, but nothing's perfect. Even Bitcoin's not perfect. So we're you have to be honest with yourself in this market and really look at, okay, what are we actually investing in and what are we actually doing here? I think Solana as an example, we're talking about that mainly as a coin to trade. It fixed a lot of its problems over the bear market, and it's come out a lot cleaner in the new bull market. So basically there's, a lot of, one thing we say is there's a thing called strong convictions held loosely, which is, we're going to find a bunch of different ways to make money, but then when the market changes, when the equation changes, we change with it because we're not just, stubborn. We want to make money more than we want to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the course itself, maybe it'd be good just to talk the guys through like exactly what happens, when they enroll. We're putting the link into the chat now. You're still able to join for another few days. So I highly recommend, that you do that and you jump on board, because now obviously really is the time. I mean, I'm certainly paying a fuckload more attention to this space than, not that I haven't, but I think it's very clear to everybody that now is the time we really need to be conscious of this because of what's happening with the things that you've outlined. So when they get into the course, so what's the process? What happens when they sign up?
So the process in terms of, I'll just walk you through the process of like, okay, what the user experience is like. So if they go to your link here on our website, cultivatecrypto.com, and then going to the Troy Francis thing, hit there through the link. Basically they'll find the way to pay for the course as you showed on screen earlier. You can pay by a credit card, you can pay by a debit card, PayPal, a lot of different ways here. And then you could also pay by crypto if you want. You can send us an email with, say that you saw us on Troy Francis and that you'd like to pay in crypto. We'll give you a 15% discount on that. So instead of $9.98, the course will be $8.48. But yeah, so once you purchase a course, within 24 hours, you'll get an email from our support team. It'll come from an official cultivatecrypto.com email address. So make sure to whitelist that once you've purchased the course. And then within 24 hours, you get the email. You'll be able to join, you'll be able to join the Telegram chat as well as the links channel. That will be where everybody's having discussions, and also where we will post all of the videos, recordings, and live streams and everything. And then once you're in there, basically we start the webinars on February 9th. So you have 5 pre-recorded webinars to watch already, and that will help you prepare for the course. Make sure you have your whole situation sorted. Then on February 9th, when we start the course, we will do webinars 2 days on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 2 days off until February 23rd. And every webinar is at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time during those days that we have on. So it's kind of like a 2.5 week boot camp where you really just get all the information you need from beginner to advanced, and then you'll be ready to take on the market. We don't take the recordings away from you. You can continue to watch them throughout the quarter, throughout the year, throughout the decade, and continue to, we recommend to people to kind of come back to some of these topics that you've taken notes on before, come back to it at a later stage. If you only understood like 40% of it to begin with, then come back to it later in the quarter or later in the year and refresh yourself. So it's that spaced repetition that we highly recommend to truly understand what you're investing in.
And we also have the, it's not showing up.
Here we go.
Yeah, so right here we have the crypto mindset calendar right here, which will show pretty much when more or less classes we're going to end up having. The first class we're going to have is the Q1 2024 thesis, where we're going to go over what to expect over the next quarter, as well as we're going to give you a kind of an overview of what we think is going to happen over the next year as well. This is really important right here, man. The first class is at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so all classes will start at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. throughout the entire course. So just for people to know that. And the first class will be February 9th. We will go February 10th, and then we will take off for Super Bowl Sunday and Monday. What do we call it? Super Bowl Sunday and Hangover Monday, I think we were calling it, right?
The American holiday,
Yeah, American holiday. So we got to take those off. Go Swifties, right?
I don't know about that.
But so we got a lot of important webinars here. We're going to go over the top coins that we're looking at right now, as well as portfolio theory on how you should structure your portfolio. where you're at in the cycle in terms of beginner, intermediate, advanced. We're going to give you all the stuff you really want to know right in the beginning. And then from there, we start getting really into how to actually function in the space, whether to move coins around. A very important webinar we do is on February 13th, which is Don't Get Wrecked. It's a very, very important webinar on how to keep yourself safe in the crypto space. We talk about something called condom wallets. We talk about how not to click links. We talk about where to safely gather information. When someone joins the course, we have a drop-down list of where to properly get cold storage devices, wallets, where's the proper links on a lot of stuff that's kind of hard to find sometimes, exchanges as well. And we give it to you right away. Even before the course starts, we have 5 pre-recorded webinars to kind of get you started, a lot of the real basics. And then from there, it's then as soon as on the February 9th, we start on all live. From there, it's all live content. These webinars are almost 3 to 4 hours. Plus, we have kind of an after hours a lot of the times, which is basically an unrecorded AMA section that will not be recorded. And I don't know what you're talking about when it happens.
Stuff we can't say on YouTube.
Stuff we can't say on YouTube and stuff. So this is where we answer a lot of things, and then obviously we'll teach you about technical analysis. We're going to go a lot more advanced on technical analysis this time around as well. I'll let maybe Charlie should explain what's going to go happening this time around, because it's we're going to go a layer deeper, I think, than we have in the past.
Yeah, so some webinars, like the technical analysis webinar, right? We want the fundamental analysis and on-chain data, those 3 webinars. We want to expand upon them. There's some people who have taken, 10 or 12 courses, and we get to some advanced information, of course, during those, but we usually layer in on the later parts of the stream. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys some extra webinars from previous courses, so that you can go and you can do some homework, get the basics sorted with yourself. And then once we come to that webinar there, we'll go much more in depth than we have in the past. And so some people, right, like you're not going to be an expert in all 3 of those on-chain data, fundamental and technical analysis, but you want to be literate and understanding of all of them. So that way you can call out bullshit and see, okay, there's some people out here like Jim Cramer saying Bitcoin's going to 0, but you can kind of trade those people.
Naming and shaming. Yeah, great stuff. So, and I mean, as we've said, I mean, this is, if I'm a complete beginner, I know absolutely zero about cryptocurrency. I don't even know what a wallet is or any of that stuff. This is going to help you get from 0 to hero. But equally, you're also catering, like you said, to people who maybe they've even taken the course like 10 times or something, right? Yeah. So you're really sort of like, there's something for everybody here, but it's definitely, it's kind of a no man left behind thing, isn't it? So where whatever level you're at, you guys are going to upskill these dudes to the highest possible degree.
Yep. Absolutely. We've really made this like it's a very well-oiled machine right here. We've helped over 14,000 people through our products and services since we've started in 2020, and we are the single largest onboarders in the red pill space, but I mean we're the longest running crypto course in the world as well. So we've really helped out a lot of people, and we've kind of seen it all when it comes to questions from newbies and everywhere in between. And we built a really big alumni program as well. We've got a lot of people who got their start through us and stuff, and a lot of them are even starting to YouTube as well and stuff, which is really cool. By the way, it's like we've seen a lot of our students be very successful, not just in life, but in, I would say, social media as well, which is pretty cool.
So helping to spread the message, because I mean the fact that you guys, you've really sort of championed this in the red pill space or in the manosphere or whatever you want to call it, which is great, because that was always the thing that was missing, wasn't it, in this space? We had the game, we had the muscles, arguably, we had the frame or whatever else, but we didn't really have the money down, and except for some Kevin Ferguson type stuff. But sorry, not Kevin Ferguson. Who's the dude?
Aaron
Clay. Basic type advice around make sure you save and don't buy too many lattes and stuff like that. But you guys came in and revolutionized it as far as teaching guys about this, which as has been said before, the greatest transfer of wealth in
history,
really. So, I mean, and it's amazing that you've brought that to this space and you've helped so many dudes, and also that now dudes are now helping and teaching other people, and it's growing, right?
Yeah.
And to go with that, like, so people are like, how is this the greatest wealth transfer in history? This is why the ETF is so important, is because it's finally linking the retirement money, the boomer money, to crypto. This is why, like, in crypto, the way the funds work, right? There's something in the 80s that Ronald Reagan became famous for, Reaganomics, right? Trickle-down economics, which was kind of bullshit. It didn't really work 100%. It did work in some aspects, and then didn't work for a lot of other people. But in crypto, trickle-down economics works. It actually does. And a lot of it has to do with because of liquidity pools, which we explained in the course. But if Bitcoin goes up, then Ethereum goes up, and then every L1 goes up, and all their underlying coins start expanding, then people have so much money that they speculate on meme coins and all this dumb stuff. NFTs goes crazy. The world gets crazy. Hookers and strippers start taking Bitcoin for lap dances. And then everyone crypto. And then the Uber driver's talking about crypto. And your grandma's talking about crypto. Then, then Jim Cramer finally says he likes crypto. And
then it all goes to zero.
So marriage causes divorce. But we got a doomer in the chat, and he's a big. So good to see you, man. But divorce is the biggest single wealth transfer ever. So yeah, that's
actually as current. Yeah, that'd probably be true right now. That's actually true right now. Yeah.
Well, and who did I hear this from the other day? I heard something online, like somebody basically had like given their significant other like access to different parts of their crypto, and then like they used it without their knowledge and shit like that. So like the one really important thing about crypto, it's not like a place that you're going to be hiding money or anything like that, but it is your money. It is yours. Only you have control of it. So we do also recommend that people, take care of that information with extreme caution, because, we want to make sure that you're protected and your wealth is protected.
Yeah. Stay single. I'm single. I save a lot more money. I mean that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, there is girlfriends can be expensive. That is true. But what was I going to say? Oh, just quick fire round. Obviously, you cover this in huge detail in the course. But how do you know when to sell, right? Because people have fucked themselves over by holding on for too long, haven't they? They hold on.
Yep.
If the price is going up, they're like, "Oh, this is fucking amazing! I'm going to be a multimillionaire," and then it goes down again, and they lose the. So what's the best advice for knowing when to get out?
So this is why we I mean, what he said about the Uber drivers and strippers is one sign, but when you basically do the different forms of analysis, the reason why we go over fundamental, on-chain, and technical analysis is because when those three merge, that tends to be a good indicator of both times to buy and times to sell. So we're going to go over specifically with the on-chain data as well, different kind of metrics and bands you can use to see, okay, how much is the market above its fair value, or how overheated is the market? And a lot of the on-chain data metrics really help with that. But the other one that you can use is sentiment. You just get an idea of like, okay, when everybody is on the same trade, right? Everybody says, oh yeah, crypto's back again. You start getting sports players to accept it. And, it's all the rage. When you see everybody agreeing with that position, because right now, most people don't. Most people are like, crypto's a scam, it's terrible. That means it's probably a good time to buy. So a very simple advice would just be, when everybody is in on the same trade, start taking profits.
When do you see that? Do you realistically this time, do you think 2025 we're going to start to see that? And that's
March to November, somewhere in there. Yep.
Yeah. We'll start seeing it really warm up, especially in the end of 24. There's gonna be like these periods where it's like these primer periods where it's like, wow, it moved. But that's also because we're very close to the fire. And then, and then eventually in 25, it just gets ridiculous. It's like when the news is breaking, like Bitcoin today breaks over $100,000 for the first time in its history. And it's like, and then it's just like nonstop. You can't go everywhere. I mean, it's very apparent, I've got, shout out to Fresh and Fit. I've got them out here looking in the clubs like every night to see when the NFT boys are back in the thing, or we got 18-year-olds in Lambos selling a crypto coin. That's a big, usually when when the nightclubs are filled with like very young guys that got rich really quickly, and they usually got rich really quickly from selling like bogus crypto products, or by crypto products I mean a coin or an NFT project and stuff like that. For every like 45 guys, probably one project's going to probably make it. Maybe 1 in 50 is going to make it. And
yeah,
Lester.
How easy is it to just set up a crypto project though?
In a day?
Seriously, so you could set it. So you could be some guy, you set up a shitty coin, and you're just like, there you go. And then it's about the marketing, I guess, right? Like anything else.
Yeah. It's kind of like starting a website, right? Like you got apps for that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
And to answer this guy's question, right? Like if we're going to talk about that, like if you don't get a prenup, can your wife take your Bitcoin? So let's say, for example, they know exactly how much Bitcoin you have, and you go into a divorce court or something. If they know you have it, then of course, right? That legally speaking, they're going to try to get you to hand that over. So that's why you keep some things to yourself. But hey, get a prenup first if you're already thinking about that.
Right.
But anyway, let's not go down too doomer a route on this. Hopefully your wife is a lovely lady and that won't happen. But just keep a little bit of it hidden just in case.
Yeah, but I will say though, if you are with someone for a long enough time, you're going to talk about it, and then she'll know about it. Like this is almost like an imaginary sort of you also got to think too. Like if you're in such a position where you're being that quiet about your crypto to even your wife who you've been married for 15 years or 20, it's like Jesus Christ. You should have left that bitch a long time ago. Let's be
So you mentioned 100K on Bitcoin. I mean, are you bullish on that? Is that realistic? Is that going to happen? Do you think?
Yeah. So like for me, my bear case, like my worst case scenario for Bitcoin, this bull market is Bitcoin hitting about $81,000.
Right.
And my bull case is between $140,000 to $180,000. So I do actually think what we likely see is Bitcoin get above 100K, come back below it at some point. Everybody thinks the market's over, and then boom, we go one more time up, and then we hit new all-time highs.
Yeah, and that will be in 2025 at some point, probably.
Correct, between March to November. Yep.
Yeah, we could test all-time highs this year, or maybe slightly pass it at most. But I don't believe we're going to break the 100K in this year. It would be, unless if it is, yay. That'd be awesome. Hey, I'll take it. But it more than likely it's just going to be like a grind up and up, and it's going to be very interesting to see which coins break their all-time highs quickly and first and stuff, because that's going to be a big telltale sign. If the coin's broken its all-time high, man, some crazy prices are going to hit. Some other coins are going to lag behind, and that actually could be a really big buying opportunity. And this is why we're going to continue doing courses in the future, is because we're watching these assets, and we're being able to kind of spot out like assets that are like undeservedly underpriced and are going to be price corrected very quick. Because what happens is the money in crypto rotates very quickly, and eventually they're like, why is Cardano not pumped yet? Money goes in fast and it pumps very quick. We saw this with every asset. Like there's kind of the money kind of goes around and stuff roughly. Like there's kind of like these waves, like game coins, or L1s or this, but eventually like the money, like the cycle moves towards you, and then bam, it hits meme coins and it just goes bananas. So good times coming, you guys.
No, fantastic stuff. And I think you said somewhere else, if Bitcoin on this thing about selling, if Bitcoin did pass about say 70K or something this year, it would probably be worth taking out a bit of profit. If it started to hit some pretty exceptional highs this year, that might be a good time to take out a little bit, perhaps.
Right.
Correct. I mean, let's say you got into Bitcoin today at $43,000, when it hits $86,000, you can take out half. All the money in there is absolutely free. Then everything that you remain in the market.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I guess that's always the thing, isn't it? Taking out your
original.
Exactly.
It also depends. You may decide like, wow, I got my you may like. This is why we teach so much about watching Bitcoin and Ethereum, because they're really like the hot meter of how hot we are in the cycle. And people always think they're coin, but it's really Bitcoin. Like it's kind of crazy. I can't believe when I meet a person that's been in crypto for more than 4 years or something, and they disrespect Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like it's like, what are you doing? That's like you're disrespecting the temperature gauge of the space.
Right.
Sure, you may not have too much Bitcoin or Ethereum. I understand that. You may be like people who are really in the space. They kind of go either they're like us, more coin agnostic, multi-coiners, or they're full on religious zealots. And
well, Richard Hart kind of people, was it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a Mexican, but hey, I have a lot of other coins, and this is what people can't understand. Like even when I was talking a lot about Hex in the last cycle, right? People never understood that, even about me in that community, that I wasn't just holding Hex.
Yeah,
I had other coins, but the thing is like people only remember what they want to remember. Really, very selective memory.
Indeed. Well, there you go. But I mean, obviously, exciting times anyway. I mean, there's shit's gonna pump, and it's it seems like, I mean, if you're not getting into this now, then you really do need to have a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror, because clearly this is an amazing opportunity before we get into next year.
I had one guy at this point in the last cycle come up to me and be like, "Hey, I have a couple $100,000 or a few $100,000 that I'm looking to buy this house with later in the year, right? Should I put it into Bitcoin or Ethereum, ride the wave up with some of that money, and then basically have more money to maybe buy furniture or whatever, right?" I said, yeah, obviously don't risk it so much that you can't hit your goal, but we're at this part of the cycle where it's very advantageous to do so. What happened? He was like, okay, maybe I will. And then 9 to 12 months later, then he was like, okay, I'm putting a bunch of money in crypto, because he already bought the house, right? He didn't have as much money to put in crypto. He didn't make as much as he could have. And, the house wasn't basically bought on profit. So it's just like, hey, we're giving the information, we're giving the sauce here for free on Troy's stream, take it or leave it.
Absolutely. We'll finish in a second, because I know you guys have been on for a long time today. But what % of America do you think is invested in crypto? I mean, it was still very low, wasn't it?
It's
And like you would want to say like some maybe people who are seriously invested in crypto versus somebody who just bought Dogecoin for the first time, right? There's a lot of people who've interacted with crypto, but I would say truly people who've actually adopted crypto, maybe on a global case, would be 1% to 2%. So we're still very, very early in the actual adoption phase.
Right. In terms of like numbers of like total wallets, like 4.5%, but like people who actually put money in.
Most people have multiple wallets.
It's like the amount of Uber drivers that have Shiba is unbelievable. Like me and Charlie make a game out of this. We every time we take Ubers, I ask them like, "Hey, you guys heard of crypto?" Yeah, I've had I have Shiba, or I have Doge, or I have. Almost none of them ever have Bitcoin. Or it's always meme coins. It's kind of crazy, actually. And like GameStop as well. Like, holy fuck, they fell for that one. Like,
what genre of coins would you say is good to look at, though? Would you not recommend games? But is there another sort of classification of coins that is worth looking at?
I would recommend games. It's just you have to be very careful what you invest in.
Okay.
Probably L1s would be the platforms. L1s would be this like Ethereum-like coins are the safest, because you can hold it and just leave it alone for the most part. Some coins are very active, or you have to yield. You could get into a coin and it has a large inflation, and then you kind of lose position over time, or the coin doesn't go up in price that much. This is why for most people, especially if you're very busy, like it's. Owning Ethereum and Bitcoin is perfectly fine. That's great returns, incredible returns. But we also tailor and kind of give like, hey, this is what we would do, you guys. I mean, obviously at the end of the day, you push the green button, you push the red button. You've got to take responsibilities for your actions. But if you're really busy, you've got to kind of swallow that pill. Like, hey, I gotta have more of a relaxed, calmed portfolio, and you could still kill it. You could be in 4 L1s and Ethereum and a little Bitcoin. Kill it out of the park. And that's a person that's willing to take a little extra risk and can still sit there. A person that's like, I don't want to take that much risk at 50-50 Bitcoin, Ethereum, they'll do really well still. Less returns though, and they have to stomach that. We had some people in their late 40s and stuff that were like, I want to be really conservative, and like I just, I don't want, I want to be just mostly Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then as soon as the bull market really started up, they were crying that they weren't making more money. I was like, well, dude, you wanted to be safer. So Like you're up 8x on your money, but you can't be crying that this guy's up at 20x because he took a risk.
Well, it's like somebody said before. It's like there's risks on both sides, isn't there? There's risks when you do something, but there's also risks when you don't do something as well. And it's that's the difficult thing with life in general, isn't it?
Yeah, and when you feel like, hey, this crypto stuff, I have a lot of money in this wallet right now. Holy shit! Like when you first get that realization, that's also a good sign to take some profits. So take the information for what it's worth and really utilize it. But like Miguel said, it's a tool, and take self-responsibility on that as well. So we'll explain more in the course for sure.
And two, when you get educated and you, like the thing about that's so important, right? Like if you don't know about crypto, it sounds risky. It is risky because you don't know what you're doing. But when you get educated and you invest in yourself, because the smartest, richest people I know spend so much money on education and shortcuts. Like if I need to know about real estate, I'll go book a consultation with like a top guy.
Yep.
I'll go ask Waller. I'll go ask I'll go to Ben Mala. I'll literally set up calls and stuff. If I'm really going to get crazy in the real estate space or in any space, I'm going to go to subject experts and then spend time with those people and invest the money, because speed kills. The faster you can get to your goal, the better and stuff, because sometimes the opportunity can fly you by. This, like, you take the course, even if, let's say you're like a really smart person, an incredibly smart person, very, very high IQ, can research and really wants to get into crypto, could probably figure it out in about a year to 6 months. But that's a very, very, very small amount of people. But
also that's quite a long time, isn't it? Because if you talk about a year from now, I mean, you
miss a lot.
You've missed a lot, arguably, haven't you? So
because you don't understand it 100%, you don't have the confidence, and then you buy less, and then later on you're like,
you FOMO in later.
God, to catch up. Yep.
Well, number one rule of business: speed. Andrew Tate. Somebody else said his goal is to pay it off. It's his 5th course, and he's planning to pay off his house in 2025 with crypto gains. Amazing stuff, bro. Damien, is 50% phantom medium risk? Would you say
that's pretty safe? I think
that's pretty safe. Yeah, because it would have to be complete phantom going to zero, but you still have the Ethereum, which would cover the loss. So you're good.
Nice, good stuff. Okay, well, look. Thanks ever so much for coming on, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for giving me, a good chunk of your time. I know you've been super busy these last few days, but the course is open now. Well. Crypto Mindset, open now. It's going to teach you everything you need to know. We're in this bull market. This is the time when you can make some serious fucking money and really change up your life, really make some moves that could set you up and could really change, without being overly dramatic, could change the course of your life. I mean, it's fucking serious. So, and these guys are the best in the business. Their course has been running for years. They've done this 11 or 12 times. It's fine-tuned like a Swiss watch. They know exactly what they're doing. They will get you to where you need to be with your financial goals, and it will surpass your expectations if you take on board their advice and, you do what you do the right things that you need to do. Go to my link. We've spammed it in the chat. I'm going to put it in the description. It'll be in the first comment under this video. Anything else to say, guys, in closing?
Get in or have fun staying poor.
Exactly.
Invest in yourself, because they can take everything away from you except your thoughts. Your brain. They can't take that away from you.
Yeah, and if you come and follow us for free at Cultivate Crypto and Dollar Cost Crypto on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and if you're watching and you're not subscribed to Troy, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, come on, guys. What the fuck's wrong with you? And we want a bunch of likes on this video as well. Subscribe to this channel, but most importantly, click on the link below and get into the course. It's open for another 5 days, and then that's it. And you can't get in, and you'll be sitting on the sidelines thinking, "Fuck, I really should have done that." Especially when the news starts popping off about the price of Bitcoin and everything. You're just going to be like, "Oh shit, I really should have done that." So don't have FOMO. Get in there now. Upskill yourself. Educate yourself. And it's going to be, it's going to be a great. I mean, these guys work so fucking hard to make sure that everybody gets upskilled and they get the knowledge that they need to thrive in this market. So jump on board. That's all we can say, really. Thanks ever so much for joining me, guys. As I said, pleasure as always. And we'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.